Hey, what's going on, folks? Welcome to a Carolina Panthers talk video brought to you by Blitzball Champ Gaming here on the YouTube the Tube. I'm your host, as usual, Blitzball Champ. So, I just wanted to take a little bit of time to just get on here and discuss what's going on with the Carolina Panthers this season. And I really want to be able to give all that come to watch this video just free open reign to vent their frustrations and to really give their input. So for those that catch this video, I really want to hear from y'all in the comments section. This is y'all's opportunity to vent your frustrations in full details about what you don't like about this team. What do you think are the biggest issues with this team? But there's a lot going on, y'all. There's a lot wrong with this team. You know, let's just start with how things are going this season and just work our way on up. Right now, the Carolina Panthers are 0-4. Losses to the Falcons, Saints, Seahawks, and just a day ago, the Vikings. You look at the Carolina Panthers, the last handful of seasons, they have not been to the playoffs since 2017. That was the last year that they went to the playoffs. Going through the years up to now, they have been 7-9 in 2018, 5-11 back-to-back in 2019 and 2020, 5-12 in 2021, back to 7 wins in 2022, which was last year, and right now 0-4, with still a ton more games to play. There is a lot that is really not adding up with this team. Let's start with the offense. To be honest, looking at these scores, first game 10 points, second game 17 points, third game 27 points, and then this past Sunday 13 points. Like, only one game so far we've been able to get 20 points. I got a question for y'all. Who would y'all say right now, as of right now, is the best player on the Carolina Panthers offense? To be honest, that's a pretty difficult question. That's a pretty dang on difficult question. I mean, if you ask me who I think the best offensive player is so far for the Carolina Panthers, I would say it would have to be a tie between Adam Thielen and Andy Dalton. It's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. But yeah, I would have to say Adam Thielen and Andy Dalton are tied for best player on the offense so far, just based on performance. You know? And it's not really saying much. It's not saying much. You know, we look at the talent. We look at the talent, especially that got picked up for the season. I mean, Andy Dalton, like I said, you know, 3-time Pro Bowler, is plenty of playoff experience, but definitely a shell of his former self, but still a veteran. Miles Sanders, who just recently played in a Super Bowl last season with the Philadelphia Eagles. Adam Thielen, you know, has had his best years with the Minnesota Vikings. But now, when it comes to receiving core, that's pretty much Mr. Gritty Man, Justin Jefferson's team. DJ Chark had his best years with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Detroit Lions. Hayden Hurst, wasn't that long ago that he played in a Super Bowl for the Cincinnati Bengals. And this is just specifically on offense. So here's the thing. We can't say that we don't have any talent on this offense. I mean, we brought in players that were successful elsewhere previously. Just like the examples that I named. Chark, Thielen, Hurst. Like I said, and Sanders, Miles Sanders. Sanders and Hurst, wasn't that long ago, played in the Super Bowl. You know, DJ Chark put up a lot of numbers with Detroit before he got injured, but had his best season statistically when he was with the Jaguars. Went over 1,000 yards receiving. So why isn't it lining up? I mean, the run game has been struggling. I mean, Miles Sanders, only 158 yards. Chuba Hubbard, 119 yards. He's had a lot less carries, but has a higher average per game. I mean, his is 4.6. Miles is 2.9. Running game struggling badly, but have they really been opening up holes on the O-line? That's another thing. Not to mention, the number of carries got less and less after each game. I mean, you look at Bryce Young. Bryce Young, I mean, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, sacked 11 times, 503 yards so far, average 4.9 yards. I mean, he has a 65 completion percentage, but you know, a lot of those passes are checkdowns. And it's like the guy won't go deep. I think since he's played these 3 games, I think Bryce Young might have went deep maybe 3 times. 3 times total. And I think 2 of those times was either in Atlanta or was in the Saints. But yeah, I think Bryce Young has only thrown deep 3 times total. We know it wasn't in the Vikings game because he didn't even throw a pass over 20 yards in that Vikings game. With Bryce Young, I think it's a lot of things. I mean, I would say a combination of nerves, holding on to the ball too long, not protecting the ball. And what I mean is, not so much by throwing picks, because he's been doing a good job not throwing a pick. I mean, he's only thrown 2 so far, which was in the first game. But holding on to the ball, as far as when he gets sacked, he's fumbled. He's fumbled the ball a few times so far. But there's a lot there. There's a lot going on with Bryce Young. Not only just nerves, holding on to the ball too long, but he hasn't really been getting great protection overall. I mean, you look at that Vikings game, there were so many guys getting to him like untouched. I mean, Harrison Smith, a safety for the Vikings, a safety, got 3 sacks on Bryce Young. That's not normal, y'all. A safety getting 3 sacks in a game? That's not normal. That's not normal. This O-line has regressed badly. Chavala, that first game he played, he did pretty well, but he's started to regress. Icky right now is in a big old sophomore slump. Not to mention, it wasn't that long ago that they had a game where they had 8 false starts. That is not a good look for an O-line. 8 false starts? That's not normal. Taylor Moton, even he's starting to regress badly. What has happened to this O-line? I mean, they got mauled in that Vikings game. I mean, the strip sack on Bryce, I mean, was that more so his fault or on the O-line? I mean, the dude came in untouched. He came in untouched. How much of that is on Bryce and how much of it is on the O-line failing? It reminds me of the whole Cam Newton fumble all over again. So many people want to blame him for not jumping on the ball, but nobody wants to talk about what led to the fumble in the first place. I mean, these things you gotta hit on. You gotta hit on the whole picture. Bryce Young only having just under 3 seconds, like maybe 2.6, 2.7 seconds to throw the ball. Like, it's not that much time. Miles Sanders, which a big part, I don't know why they keep calling runs up the middle for him. I mean, Miles Sanders is not a big guy, but Miles Sanders can't get going. Just the run game has really been non-existent. I mean, there's only been 1 rushing touchdown so far in 4 games from the Carolina Panthers, which, does belong to Miles, but still, only 1 rushing touchdown so far. It's not a good look. It's not a good look. Only 381 total rushing yards so far That's not a good look, y'all. You know, the receiving core, I mean, part of me feels like they're doing their best, but it's like many plays where they can't get open or just the ball isn't able to get delivered to them. I mean, in the Seahawks game, there was a little bit more hope, but just lack of consistency and just execution. You know, and it's not just the players, but you got to look at the play calling as well. I mean, run, screen, run, screen, medium pass, screen, run, screen. Like, the thing with the play calling, let me ask y'all something. What y'all are seeing right now with the play calling, is it really any different from the play calling the last 3-4 years? Has it really been that different? I don't think so. I think maybe the last time the play calling was really, really great and consistent, to be honest, was when Carolina still had Mike Shula as offensive coordinator. That's a long time ago, y'all. It's a long time ago. And then going to the head coach who's been calling the plays, Coach Frank Wright. As I said in the previous live stream, it's time for him to turn over the clipboard to Thomas Brown. I'm sorry, when you have a head coach that will call a play without realizing the personnel that's to be affected for said play, that's a big issue. Because there's two things wrong with that picture. There's two things wrong with that picture. Well, three. Number one, that's something I would have just kept to myself. Personally, felt like Coach Reich embarrassed himself at that press conference. I would have kept that to myself. Two, you're the head coach. Play caller or not, you're the head coach. You're supposed to know your personnel. You're the head coach. You're the head coach. You know, head coach as in the top level coach of the team, the main coach, the leader, top of the chain, head coach of all coaching staff. You're the head coach. You got to know your personnel, especially if you're calling the plays. And third, whatever play that you were trying to call, Coach Frank Wright, you mean to tell me that only Adam Thielen could run that play? You mean to tell me not any other wide receiver on that team could have ran that play? Really? 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 That's not a good look. And honestly, that really has made me lose hope in Frank Wright. Not only as a coach, but as the play caller. And, you know, it's affecting the offense. One, I don't think the communication's been that good between Coach and Bryce Young. I mean, he has to do a lot of this. You know, he has to rush to get in the play out of the huddle where there's like 2 or 1 second left before the snap. I mean, he was shaken so badly that I believe it was the Saints game. He was lined up behind the guard instead of behind the center. And Miles Sanders had to push him over behind so that he was behind the center. He was that shaken. He was that shook. That's not good. That is not good. And I do agree partly with what Cam Newton said. Bryce Young right now doesn't look to have been set up to be successful. And see, the thing that I know a lot of people are saying, you know, we don't have the weapons, we don't have the weapons, we don't have the weapons. I want y'all to remember something. The last Super Bowl run that we had, Super Bowl, you know, that when we made it to Super Bowl 50 with a record of 15-1. Let's think about something. We didn't have any big name receivers on that squad. Our best man at the time was Kelvin Benjamin, and he got injured in practice and was out for the season. I mean, who do we have? Jericho Cotchery, Ted Ginn Jr., you know, Philly Brown, you know, tight end wise. I mean, we had Mr. Reliable Greg Olsen. We also had Ed Dixon, you know. Like, these weren't any big name. These weren't even any big name receivers. But here's the thing. Here's the thing we got to understand. The play calling. Plays were called according to the strengths of the players. Now, don't get me wrong. We had the 1-2 punch in running backs. I mean, at the time we had Mike Tolbert, had Jonathan Stewart. You know, we still had that nice running back combo. And, you know, Fozzie Whitaker did a little something as well. But here's the thing. We didn't have any big name weapons in the receiving corps, but plays were called to complement their strengths, and they were executed very well. That was why folks like Jericho Cotchery, Corey Brown, a.k.a. Philly Brown, Ted Ginn Jr., that's why they played so well. Because think about it, we didn't have a Steve Smith anymore. We didn't have a Muhsin Muhammad anymore. And like I said, Kelvin Benjamin, he was out for the season. We didn't have him the whole season. But yet, plays were called and they were executed based on the strength of our weapons. That's why they were so successful. There's a reason why Philly Brown became a deep threat. There's a reason why Ted Ginn Jr. was not only used in drag routes, comebacks, and deep routes. He was a deep threat, and he had the yak ability. Jericho Cotchery, great hands, could make those tough catches. You know, Greg Olsen, Cam's favorite target. Even Ed Dixon. Ed Dixon had great hands. He wasn't targeted as much as Greg Olsen, but he made some awesome catches, including a fingertip catch for a touchdown. Even had quick hands to grab a fumble from Jonathan Stewart and take it to the house. These were not big name Pro Bowl-like receivers, y'all. but they were utilized correctly in the schemes, in the play calling. Right now, that's not being done with the weapons that we have in Carolina today. That's not being done. The closest that we've seen was that Seattle game when we had Andy Dalton in there. That's been the closest so far. But the offense has not been consistent in the play calling to complement the weapons that we have. Plain and simple as that. But as I said before, these weapons were successful elsewhere before coming to us. Thielen, Chark, Sanders, Hurst. So we can't really say that they suck. Are they struggling currently? Sure. Are they not living out to their best potential right now? Sure, I agree. But these guys have been successful elsewhere before they got to us. So, just food for thought. Food for thought. Now, going back to Bryce Young, I'm going to say this. I know a lot of folks are disappointed with him. I get it. I understand it. You know, he's been struggling. I know a lot of people, want to compare him to C.J. Stroud, to Anthony Richardson. I mean, they're doing better statistically. I mean, that's fine. I get that. A lot of people may feel like we made the wrong choice at quarterback. But here's the thing. We have Bryce Young now. I mean, you can't go back and change that. It is what it is. That's who we picked up. We can't change that. But they do need to make a decision. Now, if they're playing to win and somehow by a miracle try to make it to the playoffs, then they need to let Bryce sit and let Andy Dalton finish the season and let Bryce learn under Andy Dalton. Because here's the thing. We are not in a position, as some people like to say, to tank. Number one, I still am a firm believer that tanking is for cowards. Always has been and always will be. But secondly, there's no point in tanking when we don't even have a first-round draft pick. We don't. The only draft picks that we have for 2024, second round, third round, fourth round, 2 fifths, and a 6. That's it. That's it. We don't have a first-round draft pick, y'all. So they need to figure it out. And I feel like the only chance they have to possibly get a first-round draft pick, they're going to have to trade Brian Burns. Now, this is where it starts getting to Scott Fitterer. Now, Scott Fitterer became the general manager January of 2021. So this is 3 seasons now. And a lot of these moves are not adding up really well. Especially picks that we've traded and such. It has not added up well for us. So we have to ask ourselves, at what point do we really need to start pointing fingers at Scott Fitterer? Because he is a reason why we have no first-round draft pick. I mean, it was a risk. It was a gamble in trading up, getting rid of DJ Moore, to draft Bryce Young. But we got to start potentially really looking at Scott Fitterer being a source of error along with this team. We got to really start seriously considering that. Because the pieces that have been put into play have not been adding up. Not only that, players that really shined with us, we did not do a good job in keeping. Hassan Reddick, Stephon Gilmore, DJ Moore. There were a lot of names. So there was a good number of names. And just, Christian McCaffrey. And we ran him into the ground. We ran him into the ground. And look at Christian McCaffrey now. He's on an undefeated San Francisco 49ers team. Balling. He just put up 4 touchdowns in one game. And the crazy thing is, he doesn't even have to do that consistently because he has help. He's on a team where he has help, y'all. He doesn't have to do all the work. He doesn't have to carry the load in San Francisco. We have not done a good job in maintaining the necessary players and getting the names that really would help us the most. I'm not saying that we didn't get some good names, but right now it's not translating. It's not adding up. And it's turning into the point where it's year after year after year after year of not adding up. Just like the play calling. And the coaching. Like, this is a big smoke screen. We went out and got an all-star coaching staff. And we're an embarrassing 0-4. We're one of 2 winless teams left in the NFL right now. Why the heck are we 0-4? With this insanely loaded coaching staff that we have, we are 0-4, y'all. It's not adding up. Right now, so far, I feel like the only highlights have been from the defense. Now, I won't be so heavy when it comes to injuries because, honestly, the only thing I can say is I think we're just a team that's been cursed with injuries over the last couple of years. I hate to say it, but I feel like ever since the Cam Newton injury, we've been cursed with the injury bug since the Cam Newton injury. That's all I can really say about that. That's all I can really say. But I feel like the defense has been the only real highlight of the team so far. Because the defense has been trying and playing their hearts out to keep this team in games. I mean, they've recently been getting a couple of takeaways. I mean, Sam Franklin got himself, the longest pick 6 in Carolina Panther franchise history. So, I mean, and then you got to think about the owner, David Tepper. Going through the record, 29-57 since he purchased the team in 2018. 7-9, 5-11, 5-11, 5-12, 7-10, 0-4. Coming from an owner that says will not accept mediocrity, well, I'm sorry, Mr. Tepper, but I beg to differ, because your actions and how you're going about this say otherwise. And it looks like we may be in for another season of mediocrity or worse. I know a lot of people say we should have kept Steve Wilkes. That's a fair argument. That's fine. I wouldn't have been mad if we had kept Steve Wilkes. I like Steve Wilkes. I do. Especially when it comes to defense. The guy's the man. And I feel like if we had a full season under him last season, yeah, I think we would have made the playoffs. I do. I think we would have been right over that hump. And then the idea of rehiring him wouldn't be a discussion. It would be easy. But it didn't go that way. And what chance he had with less games, he didn't get the job done. And the only thing, like I said, the main big question that I always ask when it comes to folks pulling for Steve Wilkes, is if he was that great, why is he not a head coach anywhere else? Why is he not a head coach anywhere else? He's with San Francisco, but as the defensive coordinator, not head coach. But that's something you got to think about. If it was that big of a deal, why was he not hired to be a head coach elsewhere when we didn't give him that opportunity? There's just some things that make it sort of hard to consider sometimes. And it's like I've emphasized before, that 9-19 head coaching record. It's not an attractive record. It's not. It's not an attractive record at all. I mean, he got 6 with Carolina and 3 with Arizona. I'm just saying, it's not an attractive look, y'all. It's not. 9-19, that is not a good record. I mean, maybe someday a team will take that chance on him, but you can't be too surprised that nowhere else has taken that chance on him. I hate to say it. I hate to say it. But that's all I can say about that. But this team really has some decisions that they really need to make. I think some folks are going to have to be let go. I think some folks are seriously going to have to be let go. And I think some names you have to consider: Frank Wright, Scott Fitterer. I mean, you may have to start considering it, because it hasn't been just this season. It's been a handful of seasons of mediocrity. Like I said, ever since after 2017. That's 6 years, y'all. That's 6 years. And I understand a lot of people are saying, be patient, be patient, be patient. It's like, how much longer do we need to wait? How much longer are we going to be in rebuild mode? Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Like, feel like the fans are like, enough is enough. Like, when are y'all going to get this right? That's what I want to know. When is the Panthers organization finally going to get this right? Will they ever get this right anytime soon? You know? So, I don't know, y'all. It's frustrating. Just, when it's so bad, it could legit come down to the point of week 10 and we're battling the Chicago Bears for whoever can get their first win of the season. Which they came close. They almost had it. But, and honestly, if we go into the bye 0-6, which we got to play the Lions and the Dolphins, that by itself is not going to be a good look. But, like I said, they got to make some decisions, because being that we have no first round draft pick, they may need to really consider thinking about some trades and try to get a first round draft pick. Or else they need to really change some things with the personnel and start winning games. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if we stink it up, remember, Chicago has our first round pick. And if we get the worst record, they get that pick. Top number 1 first round. I'm just saying. It's just frustrating. And like I said, I haven't given up on Bryce Young. I can't give up on somebody after 3 games. I can't. I can't do that. But I really feel like he's got a lot working against him. More than we may think. But he's got to be able to take his lumps and bruises and own up to his mistakes as well. But I think right now we're pretty much the worst offense in the league. Defense, I mean, honestly, being that they get gassed out near the end of the game, fourth quarter or whatnot, if the offense isn't pulling their weight, it's going to start to rub off on the defense. So, but yeah, like I said, I would love to hear from y'all to get y'all's take in detail. Go into detail. And I want to know, how do y'all ultimately feel the issues are with this team? What do you feel needs to be addressed? If there's any sort of cuts that got to be made, trades, I would love to hear from y'all. But this team looks like absolute trash. And another thing you got to think about, going back to the quarterbacks. Now, I know C.J. Stroud balling with the Texans. Anthony Richardson doing really well with the Colts. A lot of people say we made a mistake getting Bryce Young. But let me ask y'all something. Let me seriously ask y'all something. Even if we were to have went with C.J. Stroud or Anthony Richardson, how do we know the play calling wouldn't be the same? Folks got to remember, we have gone through quite the quarterback carousel. I mean, think about it. Why do you think Baker Mayfield is balling out in Tampa Bay? And he sucked for us. Why is that? It's something to think about, y'all. Even if we were to have gotten C.J. Stroud or Anthony Richardson? How do we know that the play calling would be complimenting them and not going against them? We don't freaking know. We don't. We can't just assume that it would have been better, because it's like I said before, the play calling hasn't been that good in a number of years. Hasn't been that way with Joe Brady. Hasn't been that way with Ben McAdoo. And right now, it hasn't been that way with Frank Reich. You know, some people may argue on the North Turner, but I still feel like names like Mike Shula, Rob Chudzinski, but the play calling hasn't really been that different, y'all, in the past handful of seasons. So how can we assume that it would have been any different if we had gotten a C.J. Stroud or an Anthony Richardson? Just a thought. Just a thought. Another thing. Why did y'all hire Thomas Brown as your offensive coordinator if he's not your play caller, nor is he a heavy influence on the play calling? Why is he there? Coach Frank Reich, why is he there? Why is he there? I don't know anymore. I don't know why he's there. Why is he there? He's not calling the plays. Why is he there? Why is he there? I don't know what else to say. It's just, right now, there's a lot that is not adding up for this team. And it's impossible to single out one person or one side or one group. Like, there's a lot of factors that are wrong with this team. From the play execution, from the coaching, from just the higher ups in the organization. Like, and the injury bug doesn't help us any at all. And I feel like this team has been cursed with injuries since the Cam Newton injury. And I'm not talking about the Liz Frank injury. I'm talking about the shoulder hit from TJ Watt. Steelers. But anyway, that's all I really have for this video. Also, click on the link to Game Beauty. Check that site out for awesome video game themed makeup and cosmetic products. There's also promo code as usual. Use that if you make a purchase. But I would love to hear from y'all. And like I said, really open up. Be detailed. If you want to vent, vent. But let me know how you're feeling. What your thoughts are on the state of the Carolina Panthers. What do you feel all of that has gone wrong? And what do you feel like they could do to better this, fix this, whatever? Let me know y'all's thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. For another Carolina Panthers talk, brought to you by Blitzball Champ Gaming here on the U to the Tube. I'm your host, Blitzball Champ Jason Ingram. Hope everybody rests well, and I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.